a topic that we talk about day and night, so try to embarrass us. I don't think you'll succeed. The name of the topic of the talk today was Demystifying Sex Tech. And so I wanted to start with, what is that? And there are a lot of different opinions. Laura's might be different. But I think of sex tech, femtech, and women's health as the range of experiences a woman or a person who identifies as a woman has over the course of her life. Why should we care? 50% of the universe is female. There are 97, 52, a little less in the US, a little more globally. There are 97 conditions that affect women differentially, differently, or only. So only, for instance, you need to have ovaries to have any concerns with your ovaries. Differentially is essentially everything: COVID, heart disease, and then primarily things like breast cancer. So let's get to the numbers and the fun part. This category is going to be worth $1.1 trillion in 2027. And in order to get there, it requires a village, which we have.
Oh my God,
one of my favorite villagers. So this space is growing like gangbusters. Women's health is an overnight sensation that's centuries in the making. And everybody, I'm going to start Laura off with this, is everybody in this space has had their fighting City Hall moment. You know, when you have to go up against the big boys, yes, or girls, they often tend to be boys. When you have to fight for the most basic things like payment processors. My City Hall moment was when no one would take our ads, literally no one, for a product that improved arousal, desire, and satisfaction. We went to 100 outlets, cable, network, radio, and website, and they all said no. So we said, if we can't beat them, join them, and we turned it into a colossal news story. So that was our City Hall moment, and I'm sort of the gray hair here. Laura and I have been friends for a long time, even though she's been in the space for 4 years, but totally took it by storm.
Yeah,
so
you've been pioneering the space, and then we came on, and we're like, let's blow this up.
So
let's blow it up hard.
I want to start, I mean, you've done a lot of amazing things. You've brought so much attention to the space. You yourself are a literal force of energy that is changing the conversation. Talk about your Fighting City Hall moment, which was national and international news.
Yeah. So actually, we founded the company in 2017, and then we finally launched last year because we make robotic products that are biomimetic. Biomimetic means literally the mimicry of biological motion, plant, animal, or human. We make products that actually mimic human motion for sexual experiences.
You buried the lead with the mimicry, I think.
So literally, we make micro-robotic products. Some of the products that we make are intensely complicated. So it took us about 3 years before we could get them out. One of our hero products actually has more parts in it than there are bones in the human body. Most vibrators you see on the market have about 20 to 30 parts. Ours has over 230 parts. And so we applied for an award in innovation in robotics. And how many people know what the Consumer Electronics Show, or CES, is? So we applied. And we were a tiny femme-led team of 6 engineers, thinking, we're never going to get this. But we did. We got an award in robotics and innovation at one of the biggest technology shows in the world. And we lost our minds. And you know what they did like a month later? They're like, vaginas are dirty. I'm taking this away. And I was like, oh, wait, say it again. They're like, no, really, we think that this is obscene, profane, and immoral. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad you put that in writing. So we launched a worldwide international awareness campaign about the gender bias in tech the day that the CES show went live in 2019. And we garnered international press and attention. I went from being a nerd in the engineering lab to becoming an overnight motivational speaker, talking about the importance of destigmatizing femme and female sexuality and the exploration therein. And we've been going balls out since then. It's been pretty nuts. Actually, the CES came back to us a few months later and said, can we talk? And we said, sure, let's do that. And we actually sat down with them and we changed their, we actually rewrote their policies so that sex tech is now allowed to be at the show. Not just only did we get that award back, but we made it so anybody can apply in sex tech and be a part of that show. And so in 2020, we saw, I think, 12 different vendors. Rachel came and she spoke on one of our panels, and we spoke on a panel together. And we got to talk about sex, baby.
But what's so amazing about that, besides that you truly turn lemons into whatever is bigger than lemonade, is you changed how people are talking about the category and experiencing it and showing up. And so one of the things that we both spend, as do a lot of other people in the space, spend a lot of time doing is creating the conversation, which, if you were to ask me, is the single most important thing to destigmatizing sexuality. The world is an entirely different place in the last 5 years than we've seen before. There are literally hundreds of companies in this space. There are billions of dollars going into this space. You would be lucky if you could, fill a thimble with the people who were investing in femtech and sex tech 10 years ago. This year alone, $1.1 billion in 2021 has gone into the space, driven in large part by stories like Laura's. And so 80% of the founders in this space are women, and they each come with their own story.
Yeah.
It says Laura has a business story. She has a personal story that resulted in the creation of this. But what women like Laura are doing, and the companies I work with, they have a problem. They look around. They say, there's not a great solution. I'm going to find it. Oh, look at my solution. I'm going to turn this into a business. And then they change the world. So in terms of the destigmatization, which is not a problem either of us have, can you share
Can't make me
a
blush.
little bit about your background? Did you always have this comfort? Was this something you grew into when you started the company?
So actually, I think I really did. I was born into a very open family. My mom and I talked about sex when I was very little, and it made me very comfortable. And what that did, and this is where I kind of want to continue to take the company. We run things in a very holistic manner, and we're continuing to build out the platform such that it's no longer just a robotic product or an experiential product. We're building out a health and wellness line, an intimacy line that basically creates products for before, during, and after sexual experiences and intimacy. And then additionally, we actually provide coaching. You can go on our website and actually sign up with a coach and talk about anything. You can talk about products, like what product is going to be good for you, et cetera, and we're looking to get more into the medical space. And he's very fussy. He's like, I don't want to sit here anymore. So when I was young, I realized that if you can talk about this openly, what that does is it creates confidence, positivity, and it creates bodily autonomy. How many kids I think it's like nearly 1 in 5 children are going to experience some kind of sexual abuse some way or another. And I guarantee you, if that child understands their own bodily autonomy, it's not going to happen.
It's amazing that there's a whole body of research on exactly what you're talking about as you talk about destigmatizing, that there's a body of research that suggests that young boys and girls who are given the information, they're given the vocabulary, they're given the right name for their body parts and their genitals and how they go together, they're more likely to report instances of abuse and trauma. So
I mean, that was part of it. And then, I ended up in the Navy in my 20s, and I remember...
Which was a totally normal progression to become a vibrator company.
Oh, yeah. No, I got more for that, too. Then, Navy, medical for 10 years, and then I had this amazing orgasm that literally knocked me off the side of the bed. And then I remember, one leg was still hitched on the bed, and I'm laying on this cold tile floor staring at the ceiling, kind of drooling. I think I was drooling. And all I could think was, God, how do I do that again? And I'm looking at this person I'm with, and I'm like, oh, how do I do it again by myself? I should make something. Yeah, let's do that. And 3 years later, I started a company. And we have actually raised over $11 million to date. This industry itself is absolutely an amazingly large industry, and it's growing. Currently, the tech piece of this industry is $77.4 billion and is projected with a CAGR of 12%, or a calculated annual growth rate, 12%, and will be valued at over $125 billion by 2026. And it would not surprise me if we blew that number out of the water. Currently, we're in the middle of a Republic crowdfunding regulation CF round, where the initial goal was actually just to get people to be more aware. We are the first company to raise an equity crowdfunding round in sex tech. And we blew that out of the water too. We were actually one of the most trending companies. They have named me as the top female founded and led company in a Regulation CF platform. And that's not just in sex tech, that's just in tech. That's just a company, period. We've raised $1.3 million in the last 4 months from almost 3,000 individual investors that understand the importance of this conversation around sexuality, and they think our products are real freaking cool.
And what's also amazing about what you're describing, besides that, again, how one person and one company can have such a positive impact, is you then back it up with the goods, with the products, with the confidence, with the infrastructure. And it is so important. And as I said, Laura and I have known each other a long time. This is an amazing collaborative industry. I've been working for, 762 years at this point, and I've never been in a space where literally every time you call someone or email someone or say, who invested in you? How do I deal with this? How do I figure out how to do that? How do I get a cute dog next time I'm on stage? There are 20 people and organizations like Women of Sex Tech which are around to help you.
Well, and I've had so many people ask me, like, how do you get investors? How do you get investment? How do you get money in this space? And I think what we've done as founders for a very long time, and it used to be the only pathway to getting capital was through VC or an angel investor if you're lucky.
Big surprise, do not like hearing or talking about vaginas or orgasms.
Oh, no. I mean, I think my very first pitch, just to screw with people, I this is like 3 years ago, I just put on the first slide just said orgasms, full of a room full of people that had no idea what was coming. And I was like, so we're going to talk about orgasms, and everyone, I was the last person that day. Everybody's on their phone, and they just went, a wave of them went, let's do this. But I think the important thing is that funding is no longer single-threaded. It is no longer you have to go through VC. Like I said, we're in a regulation crowdfunding platform right now, and we've raised an immense amount of money. And what I also love about this is, like, we want to be your first investing opportunity. Also, I want to be your first in other ways. But it's actually a really amazing investment opportunity. And what it does is it provides people the platform, individuals, that might not actually be an accredited investor, provides you the platform to pursue your own financial literacy. So if you go to republic.com and you look up Laura DiCarlo, you can put in $100. You can also put in $100 to $100,000 into any company that you think is going to change the game. So they could be in food, they could be in tech, they could be in sleep tech, they could be in fit tech. But what I love about this is it allows female, non-binary, people of color, minorities to raise money and level the field in business and tech. So take your money and put it into founders that you believe in, into products that you believe in, because for a lot of us, that is the only way we're going to get money, because VC is terrified of the V.
Yes, absolutely. And all of these companies are being built to provide big solutions. It wasn't just Laura was the only person who wanted to have a different experience with an orgasm. A third of women never experience orgasms. 33% of women suffer from incontinence. 50% of pregnancies every year in the US are mistimed or unplanned. 1.1 billion women will be in menopause in 2025. We're not talking about a few people. With businesses those size and opportunities this size, what the VCs and other funders who we now have coming to us see is there are big problems, lots of people who care about them, very few solutions, and an opportunity to make an enormous amount of money, which ultimately is what certainly an institutional investor cares about. But yeah. Under all this, behind the story, beyond her unbelievable personal power and the storytelling and the quality of the products, is running a business where people buy what you're selling, which is pretty critical.
Because we're making products What I saw was this immense dearth of female representation, femme representation, technology, data representation that was actually backed by human physiology. So you know what I did? I actually started going out and asking people, hey, could you measure some stuff for me and get back to me on that?
Very
I had a girl
popular
call-
at cocktail parties.
Oh God, no. I had a girlfriend call me from Seattle one time, and she goes, okay, I'm naked, I'm in my bathroom, I have a ruler, what do you want me to do? And I go, hold on one second, I'll FaceTime you, I'll show you. Never mind, I won't FaceTime you, that's really weird. I'll just, here's what you do. And I actually had to gather this data on my own. It took me 2.5 years, and it was totally grassroots. I didn't know what I was gonna do with it. I just knew that that data didn't exist. I was in medical. I was studying to become an orthopedic surgeon. You couldn't find data around erogenous zones in females and femmes, period. And that really irked me. So I started gathering that data on my own. And what I realized with all of these people I was speaking to is that, first off, they were really, really embarrassed. And then they were really curious because they were like, oh, let's talk about this. Nobody ever talks to me about this. And then secondly, they didn't know nearly enough about their own physiology, about their own pleasure. And we had to teach people. I had to walk people through some of this stuff. And then third was that every single person was like, why are you asking this? And when I said it's because there is a thing called a blended orgasm out there, I had it, and I've dated women I know it exists for them too. I've had it, and I think it can exist for you also. And they're like, where can I get it? When is it gonna be done? Can I have one? And I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing, actually. This is 2 years before I even founded the company, and I was terrified when I founded the company because there was no support for femme entrepreneurs, and definitely almost no support for sex tech. And I didn't want to be known as that sex toy CEO then. Now, it's so popular and people are so curious, I have to avoid telling people that I'm a sex tech CEO because then all they want to do is talk about sex. And you'd be surprised at some of the stuff that people want to talk about when they think that you have like a really open mind about they want to tell you their whole life story and all of the weird things they've done. I'm like, that's cool.
I had to make a rule at one point. My kids were 9 and 12 when I got into this space, and I had to make a rule that I'm happy to talk to you about anything you want to talk about your sex life. You just can't do it in front of my children. I get to decide what happens there. The one more piece I want to make, and then we're going to turn to questions, is this destigmatization also has to do with education. And if you look at the state of sex education, let's just take the U.S., where a subset of states require sex ed, and this is always astounding, some of the states that mandate sex education do not require it to be scientifically or medically accurate. So I don't know what Board of Education is sitting around saying, let's provide sex education. Who cares if it's right? Like, let's do math. I don't know if the equations work out.
So it's actually fallen to founders like us to provide that education. So we actually provide that education through our website. That's why we provide coaching. We provide all sorts of stuff, and we're going to continue to do that. And I will continue until I get to the point where I can, where we can talk to teens about it. Yeah. Do you want to do a question?
Yeah, let's take a few questions.
Anybody? Are you guys scared?
We must keep talking, otherwise.
I'll keep talking. Yes.
Go ahead. The lady in the front.
How do you start your entrepreneurial journey if you don't have business experience in sex tech? That's exactly what I did. I had no business experience, and I was afraid to jump in with both feet for a long time because I thought I would fail, and I had failure to launch due to fear of failure. It took me almost 6 months before I was able to get my feet off the ground and going, and what I discovered is that it was never about me. It was never... I am the inspiration, the visionary behind this product, but you have to surround yourself with people who know what they're doing. You have to bring them to your cause, to your mission, to your vision, and get them excited, because if you're not a business person, you're not going to suddenly become a business person. You can become an entrepreneur, but you need, I have an amazing chief operations officer, chief financial officer, marketing department, and all of that. You have to build your team. You have to build your community behind your vision. And as a founder, that's all you need. You need that vision. And a lot of people think that they have to be an operational person, and that's not the case. That is not your job necessarily, unless you are already that operational person.
And I would add to that there are a lot of organizations that didn't exist 5 years ago, including Women of Sex Tech, Women of Wearables, Femtech Focus, Femtech Insider. And if you think you have an idea for a business, spend some time defining it. You know, it's a little difficult to build a business when you say, I want to be in Femtech. Okay, do you want to be in pleasure? Do you want to be in diagnostics? Do you want to be in metrics? Do you want to be in menopause? And then there's 1,000 variations underneath. So I would say, besides the fact that you don't have to be a one-woman band and know how to do everything, you do have to do some research and start to narrow. Our time's up.
Yep, our time's
okay.
up. So, and I would say...
Thank you so much.
I was just going to say, I would say also there are a ton of opportunities and programs out there that will support your journey. You just got to do the research. You've got to go do the digging. And that's for anybody that wants to do any kind of entrepreneurial journey, whether you're in sex tech or not, or femtech or anything like that. And you just find that support system, because you don't have to do the journey alone.
And I say any day where I get to speak to smart women about sexual health and vaginas is a good day for me at work. So thank you so much.
Thank you.